Hey, brothers and sisters, today I just want to share with y'all some encouragement about really counting the cost. Truly, like sitting down and meditating and chewing on and envisioning what you want to do truly and how much you're willing to do whatever it takes to do what that is that you decided to do. Because at first glance, a lot of us decide and we see something, we're like, ooh, that car looks awesome. I want that car. I want that Camaro. And especially when you're, in your youth or not that much of understanding how to count the costs, say per se you're in college, you're like, I want that Camaro. That car is just super nice. All your friends would love it. You'd feel cool in it and X, Y, Z. And you're like, okay, I'm going to get it. And to you see $20,000. But long and behold, little do you know that, there's going to be taxes and different fees and this and that, and the closing cost is going to be like $25,000, extra $5,000 that you weren't anticipating. Then furthermore, you're going into aspects about learning about interest rates and, your car note, and you're realizing like, wait, you're telling me that I'm going to have to pay off this car in the next 5 to 7 years based upon what I got approved for or this or that, right? And as these practical things happen in your life, you start to realize the cost of things. And 10 years later, you lived and you learned a lesson about this and that, analyzing, hey brother, nice seeing you. You learned a lesson about counting the cost and realizing, like, at first glance, certain things may seem appealing and you should slow down and analyzing, is this what I want? And or you'll realize more about really chewing and discerning, yes, I am willing to do this, and quickly analyzing, counting the cost. The faster you can get at that, the better, because the more quicker you can move. Not that this is something to be expedited, but just like anything, like say you're cooking and you cook the same meal every day, first day, and it's a homemade meal, so it's homemade spaghetti or something. It took you 2 hours. But the more repetitions you do it, you get quicker at doing it. Now you're making it in 30 minutes, right? So point being is it's the same thing. Now let's apply this same lesson, but to the most important thing. And that is your calling, your purpose individually. Why did the Messiah, the Most High, uniquely create you? Individually you, who I'm speaking to, right? Why? What gifts do you have? Because we're not the same. And that's perfectly fine. It's just like the body. You can't say the finger is the same as the nose and the nose the same as a foot. No, we're different. And that's perfectly fine once again. You need to figure out what your gifts are, what your calling is, and what has He blessed and created you for. Have you ever seen like the memes or the little illustrations of a hammer and a screw? And like, it's like, no, that doesn't work. The screw needs a screwdriver, of course, a Phillips or a flathead, and vice versa. The nail doesn't need a screwdriver, it needs a hammer. So you got to figure out what it is that you're supposed to engage with, that you've been called and compatible and built for. And that's what you really need to spend some time doing. First of all, set aside time and envision your life. Stop just rushing and jumping into, especially for the youth, just college and picking a degree that you barely even know, but everybody goes to college, so I'm going to go to college and collect up debt and all these different things, Really set down and plan. And then in that, figuring out your gifts and calling. And if you have no idea, even after you've done that, that's perfectly fine, because that happens too. And you'll realize the whole lesson about sometimes you do just have to go. And there's this whole balance between the two that you learn, and that's the rhythm and blues about life, But point being is as you go on this journey of really counting the cost, you'll realize that there's certain things that you're doing in your life that are detrimental and destructive. You're building with one hand and you're destroying with the other. I was sitting down with a gentleman, speaking with a gentleman just the other day, yesterday, and he plays college ball, football, and he's asking me, he wants to work out, and I'm asking him, as I'm going through these different drills and explaining and elaborating what would best suit him and his play style and his build and who he is and all these different things about how to be the optimal athlete. And as we're sitting and talking, he's verbalizing that he's all in. And I just wanted him to slow down because I know it all sounds good right now, but I'm like, you got to understand what I'm talking about is consistency over a period of time, just like that car note, that you're going to consistently have to pay that car note over a long period of time? Are you consistently willing to sacrifice this summer in order to really excel? Therefore, give up maybe all the booze and the drinking and the parties. Are you willing to sacrifice those things in order to prosper in another field? And as we sat, he's kind of concluding that maybe he is a little bit half in, half out between, I do want to party, but I also want to be great at football or do well at it. And I'm like, right now you got to foot in, foot out. You're at neutral, And as he's starting to chew on that, ponder it, he has to make his own decision. But the point is, a lot of us don't just sit there and really analyze and critically think about what we want, and we don't realize what it's going to cost to do it. The story of this, which I mentioned the other day, is of the young rich ruler. The young rich ruler comes up to the Messiah, and in his calculations of counting the cost, he calculated that he was doing everything that he was supposed to do, and therefore sufficient. He's like, yeah, I got it. I'm paying the price. I'm good to go. I'm going to do well. I'm going to excel. And then unexpectedly, the Messiah, the Most High, to the young rich ruler, unexpectedly to him, the Messiah Most High, of course, knows his heart and realizes something that he's not willing to give up, and that is his riches. And he asks him, well, yeah, you are fulfilling. Well, he's like, acknowledges that you're doing those, but are you willing to, sell all your possessions and give all your money to the poor and come and follow me? And the young rich ruler, in his calculations of counting the cost, he had never even seen that perspective or entertained that idea because how much it rocked him. As the contrast would have been more so that the young rich ruler had already anticipated to follow the Messiah. I genuinely must be willing to give up everything, so much so to where I'm willing to bleed and give up my life for him. And when you can start to anticipate that and ask for the Holy Spirit to dwell in you and give you the strength to be able to fulfill that, that's your calling, right? Then when that day comes, you'll be ready. It's be ready in season and out of season. But he had never entertained even the idea that he has to give those up. Just like the car note. He had never entertained the idea of, wait, it's really $25,000 even though the price tag says $19,999, and that I'm gonna have to pay this the next 5 to 7 years according to this loan agreement, and all these little, minute things. Look at this little cute bird. Oh, hold it so there. Let's see. Okay. Anyhow, my bad. That bird was adorable, but the point is you really need to sit and chew on what it is that you want to do. And if it is follow the Messiah, I'm going to give you a little, inside scoop. It is going to cost everything. 100%. It's going to cost everything. If the Most High gave up his son for us and everything, and we're to imitate him and to follow him, and the world hated him, and he says how it's going to hate us, and the student's not greater than the teacher, then you do need to understand the whole concept of saying that you're a Christian or follower of Christ. It's going to cost everything. But the sooner that you can come to that realization and fight that Goliath, because it is a Goliath, there's no doubt about it. The whole concept of what we're talking about is you fighting Goliath. You fighting that which you fear, which in this regard is losing the carnal, losing the materialistic things, the flesh, aka losing your life. And if you're willing to fight that fear and give those things up for the Messiah and lay down your life just like he laid down his, that's where you can find it. As he says, those who love their life will lose it, and those who lose their life for my sake will find it. So to wrap this up, I just want you to understand on the greatest calling, I want you all to really sit and chew on why did the Messiah make you and what is he called you to do for his glory. And those who maybe haven't gotten that far and that boldness of understanding it is that direct, and they're just living by their day by day, working their 9 to 5, not really considering anything else spiritual or about God. Understand the same thing. Understand your work environment, what you're doing. Are you actually good at your job? Do you actually love doing your job? Just because you're good at it don't mean that you're necessarily called to do it. Because you could be good at it, but really be great at something else. You see, you could be good at many things, but you're supposed to do specifically that which you're called for, and that will give you fulfillment, and that void will just be filled and at peace. But once again, you need the Prince of Peace and the Messiah and the Most High to do those things. God bless.